It's late March 2025, and I'd been sticking to my New Year's resolution to get back in shape. I'd been hitting the gym pretty consistently since early December. Yeah, I know. I started a little early, but who doesn't want a head start on self-improvement, right? Thing is, this past week, work had me tied up with insane hours. By the time I'd clock out, the gym was always locked up tight. That is, until last night. I was driving home, exhausted, when I noticed something different. The gym's lights were blazing, and a big, bold sign out front read, "Now open 24/7. I'd overheard some guy at the coffee shop the other day, griping about how the place had been dealing with nighttime vandals, broken windows, graffiti, the works. Guess the company figured it'd be cheaper to stick some poor minimum wage worker on the graveyard shift than shell out for a security guard. Made sense to me. So I pulled into the lot, grabbed my gym bag from the trunk, and shuffled inside. Right away, something felt off. The front desk was deserted. No chipper employee to greet me, no one scanning membership cards. The gym itself, completely empty. I almost turned around and called it a night, but half the fluorescent lights were humming, and some faint music echoed through the speakers. Hip-hop, I think. I figured the night shift worker was just on a smoke break or hiding out in the back, so I shrugged it off and headed to the locker room to change. It wasn't until I stepped out to start my warm-up that I noticed the chaos. The place was a wreck. Free weights were strewn across the floor like someone had kicked them around in a tantrum. Those little metal bolts you use to secure weights on the machines, scattered everywhere, glinting under the flickering lights. Yoga mats were unrolled and tangled up, trash cans tipped over, empty but still creepy. Spray bottles of cleaner had been knocked off their shelves, one leaking a slick puddle across a treadmill. Jump ropes dangled from the pull-up bars, like nooses swaying in the breeze. It looked like the gym had been open all day, and whoever was supposed to clean up had just thrown their hands up and said, "Screw it." I mean, I get it, night shift vibes, but this was next level neglect. Undeterred, I hopped on an elliptical, popped in my earbuds, and cranked my playlist. My phone was already on its last legs, battery hovering at 3%, but I hadn't exactly planned this late-night workout. If I'd known, I would have charged it at work. Too late now. I zoned out, legs pumping, letting my mind drift. Every so often, the lights overhead flickered, buzzing like angry wasps. I didn't pay it much attention. Old fluorescents do that, right? About 15 minutes in, my phone finally gave up the ghost, plunging me into silence. Well, not total silence. That hip-hop track was still playing over the gym's speakers. Some song I didn't recognize. Good enough. I moved over to the weight machines, fumbling with the scattered bolts to lock the plates in place. As I started lifting, the song suddenly glitched, skipped mid-beat and looped back to the start. I raised an eyebrow, but spotted an ancient CD player perched in the corner, its scratched-up disc spinning lazily. That explained it. A couple minutes later, at the exact same spot, it skipped again, restarted. I rolled my eyes. Cheap tech, scratch CD, no big deal. But when it happened a third time, I'd had it. I jogged over, jabbed the next track button, and waited for the music to shift. In that brief moment of silence between songs, I heard it. A faint, shaky whimper. My skin prickled. I told myself it was nothing, just the eerie stillness of an empty gym at 1 a.m. playing tricks on my tired brain. That was my first mistake. Shaking it off, I went back to the weights, getting into the groove of the new song. Then it happened again. The track stuttered, looping the same line over and over like a broken record. Turn it up, turn it down, turn it up, turn it down, turn it up. Before I could react, the power cut out. Total darkness. My heart leapt into my throat, and I nearly dropped the barbell on my foot. A split second later, the light snapped back on, but not before a high-pitched shriek pierced the air. And no, it wasn't me. I'm not ashamed to admit I was too frozen to scream. With the music gone and the gym bathed in that harsh fluorescent glow, I heard it again. Those whimpers, clearer now, coming from the supply closet near the front desk. I don't know what possessed me to grab a 10-pound dumbbell as a weapon. Instinct, I guess. The crying sounded human, desperate, and it didn't take a genius to piece it together. The trashed gym, the missing employee, the flickering lights. Vandals had probably stormed in, scared the night worker half to death, and she'd hidden in the closet. The power glitch and skipping CD, just bad timing and worse equipment. Still, I clutched that dumbbell tight as I crept toward the door. "Hey," I called out, my voice louder than I meant it to be. "You okay in there?" The whimpering stopped cold, like someone had flipped a switch. Too late to play possum, pal. I shrugged, turned the knob, and pushed the door open. There she was, exactly as I'd pictured, a young woman, maybe 19 or 20, curled up in the corner. She wore a gym employee t-shirt, her knees pulled to her chest, trembling like she'd seen a ghost. Her face was streaked with dried tears, and when she saw me, she flinched hard. I dropped the dumbbell with a clang, raised my hands, and took a step back. "Whoa, hey, I'm not gonna hurt you. You all right?" She stared at me, wide-eyed, for what felt like forever. Then something clicked in her expression. Recognition, maybe, and she sprang to her feet. Before I could blink, she bolted past me, grabbed my arm, and yanked me toward the exit. "We have to get out of here, now," she hissed, her voice sharp and commanding, a total 180 from the sobbing mess she'd been seconds ago. I stumbled after her, trying to protest. "Wait, I need to change, grab my stuff." "No time," she snapped, dragging me toward the front door. She only stopped when I yanked my arm free and pointed out my car keys were still in my locker. Her resolve faltered. She muttered something under her breath, "There's no time," but her eyes darted around like she was weighing her options. "Fine," she said finally. "We'll go together, in and out, but we have to leave before it comes back." That word, "it," hit me like a punch. Vandals were people, not its. I pressed her on it as we hurried to the locker room, my fingers fumbling with my lock. She was jittery, glancing over her shoulder every 2 seconds, but I kept pushing until she caved and spilled the story. Here's what she told me, pieced together from her frantic whispers. She'd been working the night shift, her first one since the 24/7 hours started. It had been quiet at first. A few late-night creeps hit on her, but she shut them down with threats to cancel their memberships. By 11 p.m., the place was a ghost town. Bored out of her mind, she started tidying up, wiping down machines, racking weights, the usual. She was dusting the top of a chest press when a loud clang echoed through the gym. One of the bars had crashed to the floor. She figured someone hadn't secured it right, so she locked it back in place. 5 minutes later, it fell again. Annoyed, she moved it aside, mentally noting to report it as broken. Then things got weird. As she was gathering stray dumbbells, she felt a cold breath graze the back of her neck. She whipped around, ready to chew out some perv who'd been lurking in the shadows, but nothing. The weight room was empty. Her nerves kicked into overdrive. Every creak of the building, every flicker of the lights. She noticed it all. Then stuff started falling. A yoga mat unrolled itself. A spray bottle tipped over. She thought some punk was messing with her, darting out of sight after each prank. She started watching the mirrors, those big, floor-to-ceiling ones that line 3 walls of the gym, giving you a view of almost everything. That's when she saw it, a dark silhouette on the far side of the room. She described it as like a shadow, but wrong. No features, just a void where a person should have been. Heart pounding, she spun around to confront it, and as she did, a dumbbell flew across the floor, by itself. She checked the mirror again. The figure? Gone. That's when all hell broke loose. Machines rattled like they were caught in an earthquake. Weights crashed around her, one grazing her arm. Cleaning bottles pelted her back. exploding in chemical-scented bursts. She dove into the supply closet, slamming the door shut as chaos reigned outside. The barrage stopped, but then came a slow, deliberate knock. 3 heavy thuds against the door. Silence followed. She stayed put, barely breathing, until she heard something massive being dragged across the floor. Peeking through the crack, she saw a weight machine, hundreds of pounds of steel, positioned right against the door, trapping her inside. That's where she'd been, stuck with that damn CD looping, until I showed up around midnight. I'll admit, I wasn't fully buying it. When I'd found her, nothing was blocking the closet door. No dragged equipment, no debris, just an empty gym. I figured she'd been pranked hard by some vandals, and her imagination ran wild. Still, I grabbed my keys and we booked it toward the exit. That's when the CD player kicked back on, unprompted. Turn it up, turn it down. A deafening crash cut it off. I froze, then ran back into the main gym. Every single mirror, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, was shattered. Jagged shards littered the floor, reflecting the flickering lights like a kaleidoscope from hell. No one was there. No fleeing vandals, no broken bottles, nothing to explain it. The employee grabbed my shoulder, her voice trembling but firm. We need to go, now. I wanted to bolt, but my feet wouldn't move. I stared down at the sea of broken glass, my reflection staring back from 100 angles. And in some of those shards, not all, just a few, I saw it. A dark, featureless shape looming behind us, its edges bleeding into the shadows. I couldn't tell if it was moving closer or if my mind was playing tricks. All I know is we didn't stick around to find out. We ran to my car, peeled out of the lot, and I haven't been back since.